A farmer in central Illinois orders a new John Deere tractor with precision steering. The dealer confirms the hardware comes installed from the factory. The steering motor is bolted to the column. The wiring harness runs to the receiver mount. The display sits in the cab. Everything a guidance system needs is physically right there in the machine on delivery day. Then he tries to turn on AutoTrack. The display shows one message: activation required. The hardware he already paid for won't steer the tractor until he buys a separate software license. Standalone activation costs $1,000. The premium package, adding section control and documentation, costs $3,000. That's not a defect, it's a business model, and AutoTrack is just the first of 12 features on this list. In every case, there's a gap between what a farmer pays for at the dealer and what he can actually use once the machine is home. A subscription, a software key, a dealer visit, a licensing agreement. Some buyers never see those terms before they sign. Nobody at the dealer shows them the fine print. The law firm Migliaccio and Rathode opened an investigation in July 2026. They're looking at whether Deere forces owners to pay activation fees for guidance features with hardware already in the machine. The charges: deceptive trade practices, failure to disclose key info, and breach of express warranty. One feature down. 11 to go. The second one proves Deere isn't alone. AG Co. sells Fendt tractors with VarioGuide steering hardware pre-installed at the factory. The mounting brackets, the hydraulic valve, and the angle sensor, all the parts for a working guidance system ship with the machine. But owners have reported buying these tractors and then finding out precision guidance costs extra on top of the sticker price. A separate investigation, also opened by Migliaccio and Rathode in July 2026, alleges that VarioGuide stays disabled until the farmer buys more software licenses and subscriptions. The firm calls it substantially increasing the true cost of ownership after the sale. The hardware crossed the Atlantic with the tractor. The software permission didn't. When two competing makers show the same pattern, the story changes. This isn't one company's pricing choice. It's an industry-wide revenue structure. The steering motor under the dash works the same way in both cases. A software permission on a server somewhere else decides whether it does anything. The third feature is the correction signal that makes precision guidance accurate enough to matter. Even after a farmer pays the activation fee and has a working GPS receiver, raw satellite accuracy lands in feet, not inches. For row crop planting, overlap waste, seed, and skip zones cost yield. Accuracy in feet means no guidance at all. Sub-inch accuracy needs a correction signal. Deere's satellite SFRTK costs $1,500 per receiver per year on the Starfire 7500. The MRTK activation on older Starfire 3000 and 6000 receivers runs $1,250 a year, and SF2 subscription costs $800 for a full year. A farmer running 3 receivers across a planter, a sprayer, and a combine could spend $4,500 every year. That's just to keep the accuracy those receivers were built for. Independent RTK services exist for as little as $32 a month, but they need a separate N-trip modem the maker's system doesn't support. The receiver is paid for. The signal that makes it useful is rented, year after year after year. The Equipment Freedom Manual includes an owner control checklist for software, subscriptions, diagnostics, and repair access before you buy. You can find it at getacheron.com, but the next feature shows why even a working system may not belong to the owner. The fourth feature is the diagnostic tool a farmer can use on a machine sitting in his own shed. For years, Deere dealers used a platform called Service Advisor. Farmers and independent shops got a stripped-down version called Customer Service Advisor. The gaps were laid out in a House Judiciary Committee document titled Service Obstructor. The customer version couldn't access the emissions diagnostic module. That's critical for engine problems on Tier 4 machines. It couldn't reach the Dealer Technical Assistance Center, the cloud troubleshooting system dealer techs rely on for hard failures, and it couldn't program controllers or run full system calibrations. The farmer had a tool. The dealer had a better one. And for the hardest jobs, only the dealer's tool worked. Deere replaced Customer Service Advisor in 2026 with Operations Center Pro Service. The new tool costs $195 per year per machine. For a whole fleet, the annual license runs $4,995. Independent service providers pay $5,995 a year. The replacement does more than the old tool, but it's still a yearly bill. The farmer pays every year to get repair info for machines he already owns and already has in the building. The fifth feature is the one that stops a tractor in the field. Every Tier 4 diesel tractor built since 2014 carries a diesel particulate filter. It catches soot from the exhaust and burns it off through regeneration. The system runs on its own most of the time. But when a tractor works at low loads for long stretches, soot builds up faster than the engine can clear it. The display warns the operator a parked regen is needed. Push past those warnings, and the engine goes into limp mode. Field speed drops to 5 miles per hour on a tractor. On a combine during harvest, it drops to 3. At that point, only a dealer tech with a service advisor connection can clear the fault codes and force a recovery regen. The service call runs $100 to $300. If the filter has ashed over past a standard regen, cleaning costs $400 to $800 on top. A U.S. Public Interest Research Group report put a number on the real damage. Equipment downtime during critical weather windows has cost individual farmers between $30,000 and $60,000 in crop losses. The counterargument is fair. Operators get repeated warnings before lockout. The emissions system serves a regulatory purpose the EPA requires, and some of those warnings are hard to miss. The display prompts every 15 minutes. The system gives 2 hours max before it shuts down the PTO entirely. But the timing of a lockout isn't something a farmer controls. A DPF that builds soot during a week of low-load PTO work at 900 RPM can demand a forced regen at any point. It can hit in the middle of a field job that can't stop. When the only way back to full power is a dealer with a proprietary diagnostic hookup, a routine job turns into a scheduling problem the farmer can't solve alone. No amount of careful operation fixes that. Third-party tools from companies like Diesel Laptops now let farmers and independent techs run DPF regens, after-treatment resets, and clear fault codes on their own. Those tools exist because the lockout was never a technical limit. It was a business choice. The tech to clear the codes was there all along. Somebody just decided farmers shouldn't have it. The sixth feature is reprogramming. When a farmer replaces an electronic controller on a modern tractor, the new part needs software before the machine will recognize it. For years, the customer diagnostic tool couldn't handle that step. A dealer visit was mandatory to finish a repair the farmer had already done with parts the farmer had already bought. The FTC settlement signed in July 2026 now requires Deere to give reprogramming tools to farmers and independent repair providers. The $99 million class action settlement says that by December 31, 2026, customers can reprogram through Operations Center Pro Service in offline mode. That timeline tells you something. If the same function can ship through a customer tool by year's end, the years of dealer-only reprogramming weren't a technical limit. They were a policy choice. A federal settlement reversed it. The seventh feature is the paperwork a farmer needs to fix a machine. A Deere technical manual has cost between $200 and $350. A farmer running multiple models could spend over $2,000 just to read repair info for machines already in the building. The FTC settlement requires Deere to provide full technical manuals, troubleshooting databases, and diagnostic guidance on fair and reasonable terms. That rule exists because that access didn't exist before it. Other makers handle this differently. Case IA puts operator manuals on its website for free. Third-party sites carry downloadable PDFs of older manuals at no charge. But for current diagnostic and repair info on late model equipment, the maker's platform is still the main source, and it charges every year. Now the skeptic in the room gets the floor. Not every feature on this list is a cash grab. Some deliver real value when they work right. Dealer-managed services keep machines running during harvest, when a farmer doesn't have the time or the training to chase a complex electronic fault. Connected support, the 11th feature on this list, can spot a part that's about to fail and flag it before it strands a combine at midnight during harvest. RTK correction signals need satellite infrastructure and ground stations that cost real money to build and run. A private RTK base station, the alternative to a subscription, can cost $10,000 or more to set up. The FTC settlement signed in July 2026 puts enforceable rules behind repair access for the next 10 years. Deere must give farmers and independent shops the same diagnostic software, repair manuals, and service tools that authorized dealers use. Same tools, same access. For the first time, compliance monitoring runs the full 10 years. The $99 million class action settlement pays farmers based on documented repair labor hours going back to January 2018. Recovery rates fall between 26 and 53% of estimated overcharges. Case IA dropped subscription fees from its telematics platform for machines built and bought after October 1, 2024. That's a competitive response to the same pressure that hit Deere. No federal lawsuit needed. The market moved on its own once farmers started pushing back hard enough. The reforms are real. They're also recent, and they don't cover everything on this list. The 8th feature is the deepest question here. It goes past subscriptions and activation fees. It asks who owns what's inside the machine. Deere has argued in regulatory filings that farmers get an implied license for the life of the vehicle to operate it. The Electronic Frontier Foundation documented this position in 2016. The license agreement for Deere's embedded software blocks nearly all repairs and changes to the code. It bars owners from even looking at the software running on equipment they bought. At least 10 class action lawsuits were bundled in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Illinois. They challenged these licensing terms. The $99 million settlement resolved the damage claims. But the core software licensing framework hasn't been pulled back. The settlement paid damages. It didn't change the license terms themselves. The farmer owns the iron. Whether the farmer owns the instructions that tell the iron what to do is a question the settlement answered with money, not with a structural fix. The 9th feature depends on geography, not policy. Precision ag tools that need cell service have a coverage problem no maker caused and no activation fee can fix. Globalstar reports that roughly 20 to 30% of rural areas in the United States don't have enough cell coverage. The USDA confirms that more than 20% of rural households and farms lack reliable broadband. When connectivity drops, telematics stops. Remote diagnostics go dark. Cloud-based guidance corrections freeze. Any feature that needs a live data link just quits until the signal comes back. Deere has partnered with SpaceX to offer Starlink satellite comms to farmers across the United States and Brazil. That partnership admits the problem exists, but Starlink adds another hardware install and another monthly bill to features the farmer already bought and already expected to work. The 10th feature is the data the tractor generates. Every major maker says farm data belongs to the farmer. Deere got the Ag Data Transparent certification in 2018 and says customers control their business data and choose who sees it. The reality is messier. Each maker runs its own data platform. Deere uses Operations Center. Case IA uses Field Ops. AG Co uses AGCO Connect. Moving agronomic data between them takes API access or manual exports. The formats aren't always compatible. An Ohio State University study found that in some cases, farmers can't pull their data out of the system they used, or they can only export a processed subset of what they originally loaded. The data is technically the farmer's property. Getting it in a useful format outside the maker's platform is a separate problem. No ownership statement on a website solves that problem. The 11th feature is connected support, Deere's remote diagnostic system. It lets a dealer access and reset diagnostic codes, read trouble codes in near real time, and record performance readings, all without sending a tech to the farm. It comes factory installed on newer machines. Here's the catch. Connected support runs through the dealer. The farmer agrees to access. The dealer does the analysis. The farmer can't run the same diagnostic process on his own, even if the machine is parked right there in his yard and the screen is right in front of him. When the dealer relationship is strong and response times land in hours, connected support can catch breakdowns before they happen. When the nearest dealer is 100 miles away or booked solid during planting, the feature just sits on the cab display. It offers something the farmer can't use without someone else's schedule. The 12th feature is cross-brand implement compatibility. ISOBUS is an international standard built so tractors and implements from different makers can talk through one digital interface. A Deere tractor should talk to a Kinsey planter. A Case IA tractor should talk to a Raven controller. That's the whole premise. The precision farming dealer reported that for years, when farmers connected an ISO-certified tractor to an ISO-certified implement from a different maker, features got locked out, row shutoff and variable rate planting dropped first. A farmer who paid for section control on the tractor and paid for section control on the planter found the two systems wouldn't talk across the cab display. The only fix was buying extra integration hardware, hiring a precision ag specialist, or swapping equipment. The standard is getting better. Modern ISOBUS works more reliably than 5 years ago, but a farmer buying today based on ISOBUS certification can still hit gaps that no product listing warned about and no warranty covers. Features that should work together just don't. 12 features, 12 conditions, sitting between a sticker price and actual use. The pattern is clear enough to name. It crosses makers, model years, and equipment types. Before you sign on any tractor built after 2014, get 3 questions answered in writing. First, which features need separate software activation beyond the sticker price, and what does each one cost? Second, which functions depend on a yearly subscription, and what happens to the machine when that subscription lapses? Third, can the diagnostic tool available to you do everything the dealer's tool does, or is a paid service call baked into owning the machine? The FTC settlement changes the repair access picture for Deere equipment going forward. The class action settlement covers past overcharges. These are real reforms backed by federal oversight, but they came about because the features in this video existed for years with no independent recourse. The settlement doesn't cover precision guidance activation fees. It doesn't cover RTK subscription costs. It doesn't cover cross-brand compatibility failures. It doesn't cover sell dead zones. Those stay between the farmer and the next invoice. What's still uncertain is whether the settlement model spreads to other makers. AG Co. and Case IA haven't faced the same federal enforcement. The Fendt Vario Guide investigation is active, but there's no resolution yet. A farmer buying outside the Deere network today faces the same access questions Deere's own customers faced before the settlement changed the terms. The U.S. Public Interest Research Group put hard numbers on the cost. American farmers lose $3 billion a year to tractor downtime alone. On top of that, they pay another $1.2 billion in excess repair costs every single year. Repair costs for corn and soybean operations nearly doubled over the past 2 decades. The Bureau of Labor Statistics recorded a 41% spike since 2020 alone. That data covers everything from parts inflation to technician shortages. But the 12 features on this list add a layer inflation alone doesn't explain. Each one is something the farmer paid for at the sticker price, and then he paid again to actually use it. Through a subscription, an activation, a service call, or a workaround that should never have been needed in the first place. The tractor in the shed is yours. Whether every feature on the spec sheet works the way the sticker price implied is a different question. It's worth settling before the signature dries. If you've hit a subscription wall, a diagnostic lockout, or a compatibility dead end on a machine you own, tell the story. Name the brand and the model year. Say what happened when you tried to use the feature you paid for.